Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Play Action Takes, Apollo Media's NFL podcast brought to you by Big City Wings. We just watched week 2 of NFL action. A whole lot happened. My season's over. Your season continues on. I've been in a
Yeah,
whirlwind since Thursday. It's just plain and simple.
I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine. My condolences go out to you and your fellow fans, your fellow Finns. That was a hard game to watch on Thursday for a lot of different reasons. We'll obviously get into it a little bit, but on your end, it's a bummer, and on my end, I don't think I've ever been happier as a fan.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
it's the spectrum. There's ends to the spectrum, and you're on one, and I'm on the other, and I apologize for that. But I support you, and I'm going with you through your grieving process.
Yeah, and Thursday night was already nerve-wracking enough before the game starts because we're playing the Bills. The Bills, as we've noticed on this podcast many a times, are the boogeyman for me. Like, I see the Bills on the schedule, I get scared. I'm terrified of the Bills. That they're running the division better than the New England Patriots ever really did. Like, they're just beating everyone all the time. At least Tom Brady was he was one game under 500 in Miami in his career. We've beaten Josh Allen one time since he came in.
So what you're saying, Josh Allen is better than Tom Brady?
I tweeted it on Thursday night, and it was before disaster struck. So it's the third quarter, 4th and 4. Tua goes for a scramble. He gets the first down, and it's 2-3 yards past the first down, and he lowers the shoulder, lowers his head, and he runs into Damar Hamlin. Damar Hamlin tackles him like he's a free runner, obviously. And the coincidence of Damar Hamlin giving Tua his latest concussion and it being similar to the Thursday night game 2 years ago against the Bengals, where I was in Houston. I was actually at Dez's house watching the game, and the first one happened, or it was really the second one, but the first bad one happens, and the
first one that was the first one where he fenced, right? Like he was fencing.
It was bad. So I mean, at that point, football kind of stops after like 30 seconds, 45 seconds of like processing what just happened and seeing that like my season just kind of like crumbled again. You're like, I feel bad for Tua because everyone that meets Tua, everyone that's interacted with him says he's like the best guy ever. You ask him how he's doing. He goes, thank you for asking. I'm doing well. Like he doesn't start with him first. He says, thank you. Like it's that kind of guy. He's got that Southern hospitality, even though he's from Hawaii. Like that's his upbringing. That's his coaching. That's all the things that Tua's about. And to see him go down again for an injury that he didn't have last year, and he had 3 or 4 of in 2022. It's there for one of them. It sucks. You don't want to see injuries on the field ever for any team, any player, and especially in that magnitude of it's your brain. It's scary and terrible for Tua as well as the Dolphins. Like you just paid your quarterback and now he's hurt again, and you didn't suspect that was going to happen again. Here we are.
Yeah, well, and it's terrifying whenever it's specifically the concussion, right? I mean, and also with as many as he had and the violent nature in which they happen.
Yeah,
obviously we see concussions a lot in football, and we see it's part of the game. Everyone knows this, and it's been a problem for a long time. Obviously, with the CTE movement, and that's been going on for a decade plus now, so or longer. People have been petitioning for more support on that end in the NFL for a long time. But when it comes to Tua and seeing this is I believe his fourth.
It's his fourth real one, and they're not counting the Bills one from last year where Matt Milano concussed him, but he definitely got concussed there.
So I mean, Tua is how old? Is he 27?
Yeah, I think he's a year or two younger than me, so he's 26, 27, somewhere in there.
Yeah, and so just being 26, 27 years old and then having 4 violent concussions in the NFL is a really scary situation, and especially at the quarterback position, and especially at a position where, like you mentioned, he just got paid. And on the bright side of things, if Tua is able to kind of not have to think about the financial aspect of it, if he does want to take make a decision and retire, which I know would be incredibly difficult for the Dolphins and Dolphins fans, but at the end of the day, it's a human being who we need to make sure that he's going to be okay for the rest of his personal life. But I know, man, it was scary to watch. I felt for you in that moment. I felt for Tua. You mentioned how people love and respect him and how incredible of a person he is, and I've heard a lot of those sentiments from everyone around the league. And just hope he's okay. I mean, that's really what it is. And I want him to. I hope he just takes his time to talk with the doctors, talk with the team staff, talk with everyone who's much smarter than you and I, and really just kind of take time to figure out what his next step is. And if he's going to play football, then all power to him. But if he's not, I wouldn't be shocked if he pulled an Andrew Luck type situation and said, look, I got to do this. I got to make sure my family and myself are going to be secure for the future. And he's got the money now. He's got the guarantee. They'll probably pay him out. What is it, like 163 million if he retires? So that's not, I think he'd be pretty set for life on that. So I don't know, but it was really hard to watch, and I immediately thought about you, and that's a really sad situation.
Yeah, I mean, and the other part is that it's Tua's decision. It's not anyone else to tell him to retire. It's not anyone else's job to just be like, stop playing football. I think that's where a lot of fans get in the way. It's like, hey, it's a human being behind the face mask inside the helmet. That's a human. That's you out there. He's just more talented at a certain thing than most people are. So
Yeah,
for him to retire, it'd be a very tough decision. Like he's dreamed of being in the NFL since he was a kid. Like that's what his grandfather instilled in him. That's what his dad instilled in him. Like that's what he's like. The only thing he's really been thinking about outside of his family and his friends, like, is how to be the best football player he can be and how to climb the mountaintop and win a Super Bowl and all the things. Like all of his goals, like those are his things. So don't tell him to retire. Like that's his decision. Like if he chooses to retire, then so be it. He got his contract, and that's awesome. He's got generational wealth now, and he already has it. He already got like 40 something $million in the signing bonus this year before the season started. Like he already made 25 from his rookie deal. Like he's set for life already, and then he gets more if he chooses to retire. And I think it's $123 million that he gets if he decides to retire, and he pays out over time. But it's not for us to tell him to retire. It's for him and the doctors to come to a decision for him and what's best for his health and what's best for his career. If he chooses to come back, which he's already said that he has no plans to retire, then so be it. And welcome back. Just want him to be healthy and want him to be safe out there. And football's a violent game, and you run the risk of having it happen again. So that Tua knows that. So let Tua make that decision, guys. Like everyone needs to stop talking online about Tua needs to do this, Tua needs to do that. He doesn't need to do anything. He's going to do it for himself. He's going to do whatever he chooses to do. He's a human. Let him make his own decisions. He's not going to listen to Twitter. He's not going to listen to Instagram. I don't even know if he has them. I mean, he has them, but I don't think he runs them. Like he's just
he probably has an assistant or something.
Yeah.
What did you make of Antonio Pierce's comments?
It's different when it comes from a previous player, I guess, more so. Or are you just afraid of the Dolphins with Tua as the quarterback in the AFC? Like, where's this? I don't know if that's coming from like football side of Antonio Pierce or if that's coming from coach side of Pierce. Like it is what it is. People are going to talk and people are going to say whatever they want and whatever they feel like they need to get off their chest and talk about other players. That's fine.
It was an interesting comment just because of, like you mentioned, right? It's like obviously he's a former player, and I'd like to believe that he has the best intentions in mind for Tua, but it's also like an opposing team's head coach saying that like the day after it happened is a little. It's like, all right, hey man, where is this coming from?
Right? Yeah. And what Mike McDaniels said was like he's the quarterback of his family. Like he needs to go be a dad. He needs to go be a husband and like make the decision for you and them, not so much the organization of the Miami Dolphins. And totally agree with them. And that's cool to have your coach come out and be behind your players like that, to see them all just rally behind the guy and like, hey, if you choose to do whatever, we're going to be all right. We're fine. Like it's going to be different. It would be completely different without Tua. Like finally get a quarterback that's not Ryan Tannehill on a second contract for the first time since Dan Marino. Like it would suck. It'd be terrible, but it would come with the game. Like it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And before we got on here, I said being a sports fan is probably the worst thing you can ever do to yourself. That's including drugs, alcohol, and all the other things that you could do in life. Being a sports fan is the worst thing ever. Football sucks right now.
Yeah, being a sports fan is worse than injecting heroin into your bloodstream.
Yeah,
I mean,
thinking about it, might pick up a different hobby instead. But that's Thursday night. The Bills win 31-10. They're the boogeyman. They're really fucking good. Josh Allen didn't even do anything, and they just still killed him. It is what it is. We only punted one time if you look at the stats. So take that.
Yeah, I mean, put up 10 points though, and
It was a it was a
yeah,
lot of
I don't know.
turnovers on
The
downs.
Bills are incredible, man. The Bills are really good, and like you mentioned, it wasn't Josh Allen even. I mean, it was Josh Allen had maybe 170 yards and a touchdown. James Cook had a huge night. Um, James Cook is a really good back. Definitely one of the. I feel like he doesn't get the respect he deserves in the league. I know people know about James Cook, but they don't ever talk about him like one of the like dominant backs. And he is. I mean, and I think he's going to show people this year because they're going to have to lean on him. They don't have any receivers. They got Kincaid. They got Keon Coleman, who I don't even know if he actually is real.
No,
When I watch Bills games, I don't know if he's even playing. I don't see him. I don't hear his name. So, the Bills are doing this. It's impressive how they're doing this. So, it's a bummer about the Dolphins and everything that happened in that game, but the Bills are definitely a force to be reckoned with.
yeah, and now Kincaid's out with a concussion as well. He took a knee to the head after the play was done in the second quarter, I believe. So
Yeah,
weapons getting even smaller, and Keon Coleman had 0 catches against the Dolphins. Yeah,
yeah.
we'll see what happens with the Bills. They're still really fun good. They're built in the trenches. Their offensive
My
line and the defensive line is really good, and they seem to have not really lost a step on defense. I mean, Kyler Murray he went bananas in his week 1. You can't take too
yeah,
much out of week 1.
no.
Week 2, they killed the Dolphins. It is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, my last point on this is you mentioned Kincaid's concussion as well as Tua's. I really need these former players and everyone to stop making fun of the Guardian caps because it's like, what are y'all doing? If people want to wear the Guardians cap, we shouldn't be making them feel bad about it because if Tua was maybe wearing the Guardian cap, who knows where we'd be right now.
Maybe.
So it's it's just an interesting situation. Like I've seen JJ Watt be like, I wouldn't wear one; those look goofy. And it's like, okay, but is he gonna is his brain going to be functioning at 50? I'd rather look goofy at 25 and have a good brain at 50.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but that sucks. And I want the Guardian cap to be more involved. But yeah, shout out the Bills.
Yeah. We'll move on to Sunday, but before we do that, we want to thank our sponsors, Big City Wings, Houston's Wing Joint, Apollo's Wing Joint. Go check them out today if you're in the Houston area. Got 13 locations across the area. Great beer, great wings, great people over at Big City Wings. Make sure you watch game days over at Big City Wings. We love it. They got TVs everywhere, and they've got great food. It's an easy place to go watch football. Saturdays, Sundays, Thursday nights, Monday nights, whatever time you want to go watch football, go to Big City Wings. It's a great time.
Yeah.
And shout out to Prize Picks.
There's actually an event at Big City Wings this Sunday for the Texans game.
There you
go. Watch party. So if you want to come by, watch the Texans take on the Vikings, it's going to be a really fun time. So stop by. The whole crew is going to be there, and it's going to be Big City Wings is the best place to watch ball in the city of Houston, other than NRG Stadium for obvious reasons.
Naturally.
But go
and shout out to Prize Picks. Use code Apollo when you sign up. It's a daily fantasy app. So if you're into sports betting and you can't sports bet in your certain state like us in Texas, download Prize Picks because it's not sports betting. It's daily fantasy. Put in $100. They'll put in another $100 for you if you use code Apollo at sign up and with your deposit. You can get free money. It's a pretty good deal. So use code Apollo when you sign up and download Prize Picks. It's our daily fantasy sponsor. We love Prize Picks and Big City Wings over here on Play Action Takes. Sunday, moving on over to football that's a little less somber, on a little higher note. A lot of upsets.
Yeah.
We had a lot of good games. 10 games in the early window. Red Zone pulls up.
Yep.
Scott Hansen goes, we got the Deca, whatever you call it, the Deca screen.
The Deca view or what? Yeah, it was just 10 different games going on at once. Scott Hansen has to just be on the most cocaine. That's the only way I can imagine him getting through Sundays. And he's incredible at it. So all power to him. But that's a hard job to have.
Yeah, Scott Hansen came out in the offseason. He was doing I think it was the Rich Eisen show.
Yeah.
And he's on there and he's like, yeah, dude, like I go home after Red Zone and unfortunately for me, how my brain works, like I walk in and I have the exact same setup. He has like several TVs on the wall and he'll put games, like anything, like he'll put the news on one, he'll put Sports Center on another, he'll put whatever baseball, football, basketball, whatever.
It's the only way he can feel relaxed is just having all this different information coming in at once. I understand.
God bless those people that are able to process that information and go at that speed. Shout out to Scott Hansen. Shout out to Red Zone. Shout out to Gold Zone during the Olympics. That was sick. They did an incredible job with that. But Sunday, early window, Raiders at Ravens. The line was 9.5 on this. We have a Apollo Pick'em on Sleeper, and I'm getting my ass absolutely handed to me because this season has just turned into chaos, and it's basically turning my brain into mush. Shout out to Tua.
Mm-hmm.
The Raiders won 26-23. They beat the Ravens, who just looked like an incredible football team on week 1 against the Chiefs. They let down. It was a Matt Hervenches. They could have won that game. And all of a sudden they lose to the Raiders and Gardner Minshew, who's like first in like every statistical category right now through 2 weeks in the NFL.
Yeah. He's Gardner's having a year. He's the only quarterback in the league to throw for 250 yards week 1 and week 2. I really have no idea what would happen with this game. I don't. And I mean, I respect Gardner. I knew he was going to be a solid starter. I knew the Raiders. I didn't know they were going to be beating the Ravens anytime, but I knew they were going to be solid. Obviously, Gardner's a good quarterback. They got Devontae. They got some weapons. They have some guys. So I'm not totally shocked that they're going to win a few games. But this upset blew my mind. I mean, the Ravens just they didn't have a bad game. I mean, Lamar had 247 yards, a touchdown. Derrick Henry had 84 yards and a touchdown. Zay Flowers had a good game. The Raiders just came out and we're just ready to they were just ready. I can't explain it.
Yeah, last season when Pierce took over as head coach, as interim head coach, like you usually see a jump in those teams. Like they get a jolt of energy and they play a lot better for the next 5 or so games. I think he coached the last 7, 8 maybe. And they were like 500 or maybe even a little bit better on those last few games when Pierce took over. And that's the jolt of energy that a interim head coach did. Like Dan Campbell when he took over the Dolphins in 2015. Same thing.
Yep.
Like we were 2-4, I think, when he took over, and all of a sudden we're like 5-4, all like just and ripped off like 40-point wins in the first 2 weeks as he took over. It's the craziest thing. I didn't expect it to carry over to this year, especially when they're moving on to Gardner Minshew. They didn't know their quarterback. Devontae Adams said he's got to get out of here before he gets killed on Netflix, like on receiver. The vibes didn't seem all too great, and all of a sudden they didn't beating the Ravens. Sure, why not? I know they lost to the Chargers last week, but that's the Harbaugh effect, same kind of thing, jolt of energy. But yeah, I mean, they beat the Ravens. The Ravens are 0-2. I didn't see that one coming.
No, I didn't either. But I mean, obviously, whenever you pull the Chiefs week 1, it's always going to be tough. And that game was quite literally a game of centimeters. It was, I mean, Likely's foot was 2 centimeters into the white, and they end up losing that one. Could have gone to overtime, and who knows what would have happened. And then they come into this game and really, I mean, for everything they had, they really needed this win, because starting 0-2 and especially losing to a team like the Raiders in week 2, who, like we mentioned, they're not the worst team in the league, but they have no business beating the goddamn Ravens. And so the Ravens are sitting here at 0-2, and that's a tough look for Lamar, Derek, and especially John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh is really out here, looking. What is it? Got what on his face? What's the saying? He's got apples on his face.
Egg on his face.
Egg on his face. He's sitting here because also his brother, with a lot less, is 2-0 right now.
Yeah.
So Harbaugh and the Ravens got to figure something out, because this just can't happen again if they want to make any type of run. And they should. Like, we all expect the Ravens to be in the mix for the AFC Championship, but not losing to teams like the Raiders.
Yeah,
that ain't gonna fly.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to start Sunday. Browns at Jaguars. Trevor Bank Stadium gets renamed for the week. Has a little bit that they did.
They did that?
Yeah. No, they for real did that. That was a real thing. That wasn't just a commercial. That wasn't just a bit. Ooh. They went for it. They did it.
That's rough.
So I know your feelings about the Jaguars. Your feelings typically give off just a little bit of, they give me some spice. I start to run with it. I hear it a little bit more. I start to do a little bit more research, and I look into things, and I'm like, maybe they're right. Maybe the Jags just suck. And I think their defense is pretty good. Their defensive line's outstanding. Their defense is good. It's not great, but it's good. They have Travis Etienne. They have Brian Thomas Jr. They've got some
Christian Kirk's not a bad receiver.
They've got
Trevor Lawrence should be
weapons
good.
And a number 1 overall pick. It was just that's the number 1 overall pick. As soon as they got the worst record, they're like Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Why?
Trevor Lawrence coming out of that draft was extremely highly touted. He was getting Andrew Luck kind of hype. I feel like the Trevor Lawrence hype was just as much as kind of what Caleb got,
Yeah.
like coming, if not more. So so obviously none of that has come to fruition. And this game, look, they're also playing the Browns, who I also specifically, there's a man that wears number 4 on that team that I hate with all my heart. And so, to be honest, if this game would have ended in a gas leak that only spread to the field, that would have been okay with
It would have been
me.
fine.
Or some sort of fire would have been nice. And because also a fire or an explosion or a gas leak or a zombie apocalypse would have been far more interesting than what we got in this game, because this game was a fucking snoozer.
Yeah, and in week 1, everyone's like, "Oh, Trevor Lawrence outplayed Tua," which was simply false. Like, it wasn't even close. The numbers
Right.
weren't even close. Like, when Trevor Lawrence had to make a throw, he overthrew a guy. Same thing happens. Like, he overthrew him by 10 yards on an out route, like, with plenty of space, 5 yards of separation on either side of the receiver. Like, all you need is the first down, the sack fumble. I mean, you come in and it's 3-point favorites against the Browns at home, where we just watched the Browns get mauled by the Cowboys in week 1. We're like, okay, the Browns might have to consider benching Deshaun Watson, nasty man. They might still have to do that, but they walk away with the win, 18-13, and it was the grossest game. It was raining. It was disgusting. Jacksonville's a disgusting city. Top 2 worst cities in Florida, Tallahassee and Jacksonville. They're the same thing, but just on different sides of Florida. I don't know.
Jacksonville is such a filthy city and awful in every way that I'm embarrassed that the Texans have to even be in the same division as them. Like I'm embarrassed that we're associated with them.
Yeah.
And I mean, so they're awful. Obviously, look, Trevor threw for 220 yards, was completed less than 50% of his passes. Etienne had a fine day, 52 yards. Brian Thomas had a solid game, 94 yards, but on 2 receptions. So it was just 2 chunk plays, and he was quiet the rest of the time. But in the the Browns get the win, but Deshaun played like shit. They should still bench him. There's no reason to still have him. Jameis is going to be far better. This game was just a whole nothing game. It was really just a battle of the kickers. Dustin Hopkins had a day. I mean, it looks like he had 3 field goals. So it just wasn't this. It was awful. Both of these teams are dumpster fires, and I really pity anyone who has to sit through these teams and watch them play football.
It's disgusting. Speaking of another disgusting game, Jets at Titans in Nashville. We did our Jets spiel last week. We don't need to do it again. Your Jets get a win, 24-17. It was looking real rough at the beginning. I was on a plane, wasn't able to watch it because somehow American Airlines decided not to put fucking screens on any of the seats on a 2.5-hour flight. Plus, the Wi-Fi didn't work at all. I was going to purchase Wi-Fi so I could watch games. Couldn't even buy it. Like, I couldn't even put money into the account just to buy Wi-Fi to watch fucking football on a Sunday. It's egregious. It should be a federal hate crime against football fans. But the Jets walk away with a win, 24-17. Will Levis is arguably the funniest football player to ever exist.
So funny.
It's Will Levis time, and then he just does something egregious. Like the Superman flop fumble throw backwards thing was just incredible. The Death Scorpion the other week, like he's just he's incredible. I'm starting to love Will Levis, and I hate him at the same time. Like the mayonnaise and the coffee, not for me. But Jets walk away with a win. They're 1-1.
Look, it wasn't a flashy win for the Jets, but I watched them in real time start to figure it out. They're still, look, this offense playing together. They've never done this before.
Yeah,
and this is what I was saying last week, and you know this. They haven't done this before, and they're figuring it out slowly. Aaron Rodgers still throws for 2 touchdowns. He didn't have a ton of passing yards, but he still had a solid game. I watched it. I watched the entirety of this game, and it was a lot of fun. And also, I want to touch on Will Levis. He might be the dumbest NFL quarterback I've ever seen in my life, and that's really, really saying something. But also, it sucks whenever there's a quarterback like that who just doesn't use his head at all, but can also actually is athletic enough and skilled enough to make plays sometimes.
That Calvin Ridley touchdown.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
exactly. I know. No, there was multiple times this game where I was like, "Holy shit, Will, that was incredible!" And the very next play, he does the most boneheaded, empty head, no brain power. I just can't even believe that he's in the NFL play. And I love watching Brian Callahan just screaming at him from the sideline. Just what the fuck are you doing?
Yes.
Because we're all thinking it. We're all thinking it. It is hilarious. The Titans are another team who Nashville's a good city, unlike Jacksonville. But I'm sorry that y'all have to deal with the Titans. I really do apologize for that. And go Jets.
Yeah, I said it preseason. I think it was our AFC South preview where we all took the Texans to win the division, clearly. And when we talked about the Titans, I was like, Will Levis, he's going to have 3 or 4 plays a game where you're like, holy shit, this guy's got it. And then he's going to have 4 or 5 plays that you're like, why?
What did you do that for?
For what?
Yeah. Yep.
Like, what purpose was that for? And you can't have more what the fuck plays than you have, holy shit, those were incredible plays. You just can't.
Yeah.
You cannot do that.
Yeah. No, the ratio of what the fuck plays to that was a good play is
it's
like
3-1.
10 to 1.
Yeah, it's
like 10 to 1.
Yeah.
It's really they're few and far between. But then they'll do it, and then he'll get a highlight on the NFL's Instagram. And people are like, actually, give him time. Will Levis is going to be good. And it's like, no, sorry,
he
man.
did it to the Dolphins last year, and they won the game. So, like, I understand what Will Levis is. He will do those, and then he'll have the why. Like, well, for what purpose?
Yeah. I also want to give a quick shout out in this game to Braylon Allen. He looked pretty good, man. Youngest player in the NFL. Made a few big plays. He's going to be a real weapon. Breece Hall and Braylon Allen in the same backfield is it's going to be something to watch. It's going to be something to watch.
Pretty good. Last year's rematch, 49ers versus Vikings. The Vikings won that. I think it was a Josh Dobbs game. I don't think it was Cousins. Sam Darnold. Tom Brady? Maybe? I don't know.
No.
Vikings win 23-17. The entirety of the 49ers team is basically on IR now. Christian McCaffrey went on IR like Friday or Saturday. The Vikings, they get Justin Jefferson back this season, and he immediately, in the 3rd or 4th quarter, goes out with an injury. Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, and Justin Jefferson all collided on a run play. Like, they were blocking, and all of a sudden, like, everyone was hurt. Just chaos, but the Vikings walked away with a win. Justin Jefferson had a 97-yard touchdown, which was great for my fantasy team. That was incredible.
But that was incredible.
Yeah, so the Vikings are the strangest team in football because I think they have an incredible coach. I think he actually is really good with quarterbacks. If Sam Darnold is doing this and beating the 49ers, like, he's walking into the locker room and saying they shouldn't have ever fucking cucked me. Like, talking about the Niners, like, he's hyped up. He was ready to beat them. Niners came out kind of flat. George Kittle went and got an IV randomly during the 3rd quarter. Like, this is just a strange game overall. The lighting in the stadium threw me off tremendously. Why? What's up with all the glass? Like, Dallas does it, and you're like, okay, that looks cool when the sun comes through. Minnesota, the shadows on the field are a real fucking problem. Like, it hurts my eyes on TV. I can't imagine playing football with a face mask and having Fred Warner going full speed at me when that's in my eyes.
Yeah, the Texans play there next week, so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. It does. It just looks wrong. It hurts your eyes. It's like an optical illusion at times. It's interesting. But I want this to be on note, and I don't know if I ever said this on Play Action Takes. I'm sure I did, but I know I said it, and I have multiple witnesses. And I got clowned for this take as people like to do to me, and then I always end up being correct, except for a few times. There's a few misses, but most of the time I'm correct. I said that Sam Darnold is going to throw for about 4,000 yards and 25, 26 touchdowns on this Vikings team. And everyone was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Blah blah blah. And then look at him. He looks incredible. And the Vikings are fucking 2-0 with Sam Darnold. And I've been saying, I was like, the Vikings are going to be good. You got Jay Jettas, you got Jordan Addison, you got TJ Hawkinson when he comes back. You got Aaron Jones down the backfield. Like, you got dogs. And so I've been saying this. I'm not surprised. I'm a little surprised to beat the Niners, but I'm not surprised that they're playing well. And I like this team. I'm bummed the Texans have to play them next week because that's a hard game.
Yeah.
So shout out to them. Brock Purdy coming off the field goes up to you. Hey, your boy Brian Flores the defensive coordinator for the Vikings, Brock Purdy goes up to him, very Andrew Luck, like telling defenders, good hit or good sack. Purdy walks up to Flores and he goes, "Hey, your scheme's crazy, man." And it's incredible what they got going
It's
over
the
there.
one thing that he did right with Dolphins. Like the defensive
Mm-hmm.
players loved him. He coached up a really good defense 3 years in a row. Like it was cool to watch the defense being like, okay, I don't like they may bend, they may give up some field goals, they may give up a touchdown a game, but that's about it. Like he was in charge of that Patriots defense against the Rams in the Super Bowl 2018, 2019, and they didn't score a touchdown. They didn't
Yeah,
score a single
they
touchdown.
scored nothing. It was like a
I think
field
they
goal. I
got
think,
3 points. Like he's an
yeah,
incredible defensive coach. Whether he's fixed all the other issues that come with being a head coach, where you're in charge of everyone and not just the defense, TBD.
yeah,
I mean, he may get
yeah,
another job and he may be a head coach and he may be really fucking good. Who's to say? But he fucked up his
yeah.
first round, and that's why he's a defensive coordinator.
He's probably gonna get a couple interviews, but I don't. If I was the Vikings, I would really try to throw a bag of money at him and say, "Hey, you've done the head coaching thing before, hasn't really worked out, but you're killing it here, and obviously it's something's clicking." If I was Brian Flores, I don't know if I'd be chasing after a head coaching job. You know, he probably is. He
Yeah.
probably wants that. He has an ego, I feel like, and I think he wants to be in charge and prove, because he hears the chatter, he hears all the Tua chatter and the Dolphins talk about how awful he was, and I think he wants a second chance at it. But I'm loving what they're doing. They're leading the league in sacks. The Texans are second in the league with 9 sacks, and the Vikings are first with 11. So this is a really, really hard team to see coming up on your schedule, and that's a little unexpected. Nobody was giving them that credit this offseason. Nobody.
No.
And they got a hell of weapons on the offensive side of the ball and on the defensive side of the ball. Shout out to the Vikings and the Niners. I think they're fine. Jordan Mason had a huge game again, which is crazy to see.
Yeah.
I'm happy for him. Brock had a good game, but like you mentioned, their injuries are killer. So they'll have to figure that out.
Jim Harbaugh. What a fucking guy. Chargers 23, Panthers 3, or 26 to 3. Bryce Young is officially benched. They've benched him for Andy Dalton coming into this week. And if you're a Panthers fan, I'm so sorry. Like, it just
I don't know what you
could
do
not get
if you're a
worse
Panthers
that
fan.
you traded everything under the sun for Bryce Young, and you still have one more pick to give. Like, this trade still is not done. It will convey in April for a second-round pick. That'll be the last thing that they give. It'll probably be the first pick in the second round, like pick number 33. Unless the Dolphins get a first-round strip, then it'll be pick 32. Shout out to Roger Goodell. Yeah, I mean, Jim Harbaugh's a good football coach. They did not play a good team. Justin Herbert did not have like an incredible game, but Quentin Johnson's out there catching touchdowns. So if you're able to coach a guy up to catch touchdowns when he wasn't able to catch first down balls last year,
nothing.
pretty good.
He couldn't catch a screen pass. You know, he couldn't do anything. Yeah, and also, Quentin Johnson catching touchdowns. Also, J.K. Dobbins, out from the top rope to start out the season. I mean, 2 huge games. I think last week he had 120 maybe rushing yards, and this week he had 131. Huge games from him, and it is really interesting to see Justin Herbert play in this Harbaugh offense, because I don't know. I need to maybe go watch the games more closely, but is he just not throwing the ball down the field a lot? Like, what's the deal? Because he hasn't thrown for he had 130 yards this week, and we know Justin Herbert can sling that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've seen him put up crazy numbers, and this is 2 weeks in a row where he's just not even throwing for over 200. And so I don't know if that's just the game plan they're going with. That's what Harbaugh, because obviously it's working.
Yeah,
so it's fine. But it's interesting to see him kind of not utilizing Herbert's talents a lot.
Yeah, I think we're watching early 2000s Patriots football. We're going to line up in it's pro football. We're doing I formation, like pro style offense. Like, we're doing all that kind of stuff, and we're going to run the fucking ball, and we're going to play defense. And then if we need to throw the ball, we can do that. But they didn't have to. I mean, they played the Panthers, so
they don't.
Whatever.
And and also I want to touch on the Panthers again real quick. I mean, I feel so you think Dolphins fans have it bad? Y'all are doing just fine
There's
compared to the damn
there's
Panthers.
Dolphins fans out there tweeting we should just trade for Bryce Young to be the backup right now.
Ha!
If Tua, who is a much larger individual than Bryce Young, is getting
Yeah,
pounded because of offensive line sucks and then he's taking big hits, like what do you think Bryce Young's gonna do? Like,
too.
no, I'm good. Like,
I'm really shocked we haven't seen Bryce really take a big shot and not get up. I mean,
yeah,
really, he looks. I said this yesterday, and this might be a little mean. It really does when you watch Panthers games and Bryce Young is under center. It does look like the thing that happens at NFL games, like during a commercial break where they'll let kids run on the field. It looks like Bryce Young is a make-a-wish kid
mhm,
whose one wish was to take a snap in a real NFL game. And then they just keep him in the whole game. That's what it looks like. He looks like a kid. And it's just, I mean, and obviously he's 5'9". That's a normal human being size. But whenever you're standing next to dudes who are in the NFL who are 6'5", 6'6", 275 pounds, 300 pounds, even running backs who are 5'8", but they're 250 or whatever it is, like it's just he's just can't do it. He doesn't belong, and I really don't understand. And I'm one of them. I thought Bryce was going to be incredible. I thought Bryce was going to be really good in the league.
mhm.
And I'm going back to that now, thinking like, why did we think that when we see his stature?
Well,
Like, why?
I,
Why was that ever a thought process that he was better than C.J.
I
Stroud
mean,
or even Will
Bryce
Levis?
Young was incredible in college, and the
He
things
was.
that
I agree.
Caleb Williams was doing last year in college, Bryce Young was doing, but he was winning the games. Like he's winning SEC championships, he's going to national titles. Like
Yeah.
he's doing all of those things at the best school you could do it at, like the hardest school to do it at. And
Yeah.
yeah, he just got put in the war. Like if he's a Texan, he's significantly better as a Texan, significantly better
Yeah,
than what
but
he is in the Panthers. I'm not saying he's good necessarily,
yeah.
but he's much better. It's not like all hope is lost yet. You still have one more year before you're like, okay, the jig's up.
Yeah.
All right, but
I don't know if I'm not giving them
you
another
had a
year.
better offensive line, you had better weapons, and you had a better defense. The Panthers have absolutely
Yeah.
nothing on their team, and it's abysmal.
Yeah.
But moving on, Seahawks at or what did they play in New England? I can't remember. The Patriots.
Yeah, in New England. Yeah.
23-20 in overtime. I was watching this game. I only watched a little bit, but yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
"What the
me
fuck?
too.
What's happening here?" Jacoby Brissett definitely like tore his ACL at one point and just stayed in the game. Like, it was the craziest thing.
Yeah.
Like the tackle, like you can see his knee bend the wrong way, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh no, that sucks! Like that's terrible." And
Yeah.
all of a sudden, he's just playing football.
He
Like
was fine.
he
Yeah.
screaming out loud, gets help off the field. He's out for a play, he comes right back in. But the Patriots walk away with a win, 23-20. I'm happy about that because I don't like the Patriots. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Game.
I mean, I like the Seahawks, but I'm a known I'm not a Gino hater.
You're
I
not a believer in Gino.
I appreciate what Gino does, but if I always say it like this: if I was a Seahawks fan, this wouldn't excite me seeing Gino out
Yeah.
there because I know what he is, and I know that he and I'm watching this game, seeing him make some incredible throws and put up great numbers. Threw for over 300 yards, had a touchdown. He was feeding DK, which we love to see, especially if I'm a Seahawks fan. I want to see DK involved all the time. But the thing is I've always said, like, he's not going to get you anywhere. He'll get you 9 wins.
Yeah.
He might get you into the wild card, or he might be right on the outside, and then he'll lose you a high draft pick. That's all Gino's going to do for the Seahawks. But I'm watching this game, and I see why they have him. I see why there's hope there, and I hope I'm wrong because I like Gino. I like the Seahawks. I think they're a fun team. And I would love to see them make a run in the NFC. I'd love to see them be this sleeper team in the NFC. I just don't know if that's ever going to be the case with Gino at quarterback, but it is a fun win. And also I want to talk about the Patriots. We counted them out.
Yeah.
We counted them out big time.
Yeah.
And they have come out and started out the season with Gerard Mayo and Jacoby Brissett and Hunter Henry and like there wasn't a lot going on there, and they're putting something together. They're not going to win. They're not going to go to the playoffs, I don't think. But with the win last week and going with a really good Seahawks team into overtime, shout out Gerard Mayo, and we'll see what happens if Drake May starts playing ball with this team because it could be interesting.
Yeah, so I was at a wedding in Alabama this past weekend, and one of my good buddies I swam with at Birmingham Southern, he's a big Seahawks fan. He's from he's from Seattle, like huge Seahawks fan. I was talking to him at the bar on Friday
Yep.
night, and he's like, "Dude, I know what Gino's going to give me. We're going to win 9 games. We'll probably win 10. Like team's good enough to win 10 games. We'll sneak into the playoffs, and we're going to lose. Put Sam Howell in there. I want to watch Sam Howell just sling it. He threw for 4,000 yards on like a horrible Commanders team last year. Like he's like,
Yeah.
I don't care that he throws picks. I just want something other than Geno Smith in there, and just throw it around. Just you have the wide receivers like JSN, DK, Tyler Lockett. You got running backs like Walker's hurt obviously right now, but Charbonnet's been pretty good. Like you've got enough. And the offensive line's not great. Just let Sam Howell take the beatings. He's younger. He can run a little bit faster than Geno at this point in his career. Like, just put him in there. And I was like, it's actually not a bad point. Like that makes sense. You watch the Seahawks more than I do, but yeah. And I thought that was an interesting point. Like maybe you just throw him in there if Geno's not winning enough games. Obviously they won, but they're 2-0. You can't really take them. But if we have like a 3 or 4 game lull, maybe we just throw Sam Howell in there and see what the fuck happens.
If Geno starts falling off, for sure, but at this point in time, there's no chance in hell they can bench him, even if they wanted to, because he's throwing for over 300 and winning games.
Yeah.
And I agree with the thought process of your buddy. I like Sam Howell. I think it'd be interesting to see him in this offense. So if Geno theoretically, also Geno's not young, so there's a world where he gets banged up and he has it, and Sam gets a chance to. And even if it's a minor injury, Sam gets a chance to start a game or two. And then if he plays well, then you can kind of be like, okay, Geno, hey, we like you, but we're going to see what Sam can do. Yeah. There's a world where that happens. I can see that, but he ain't getting benched anytime soon. And I don't think he's ever going to play badly enough to give them the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, that's the issue. But moving on, Saints at Cowboys. Jerry World gets their first game. They were riding a 16-game home win streak in AT&T Stadium. Are the New Orleans Saints the best team in football?
Dude, they're up there.
Like Clint Kubiak comes in and turns
Clint Kubiak, man.
2011 Tom Brady. Like, what are we doing here? Like, he's just slinging around. Rashid Shaheed is coolest name in football, worst number in football for a wide receiver. 22 as a wide receiver is the worst number. Yeah. Like, I can't tell how big he is. I can't tell how small he is. Like, I have no idea. Alvin Kamara also has the most points in fantasy football per week. Like, he has most weeks as the top fantasy earner since like 2000, and it's ahead of like Sean Alexander, Danian Tomlinson, Marshall Faulk, every Adrian Peterson. He has 16 weeks where he's been the top fantasy earner.
Yeah,
and that's incredible. Yep. He does it once or twice a season. And you're like, holy shit, Alvin Kamara, and then he's never run for 1,000 yards. It's the most mind-boggling team.
It is really weird. Yeah.
Saints win 44-19. Cowboys look like trash, and the Saints offense somehow, for some reason, is just it's a powerhouse. Like they put up 40 in back-to-back weeks to start the season. It's incredible.
It's inexplainable what the Saints are doing at the moment. It's really there's no good goddamn reason they should be this good.
No,
there's not. I mean, I know Kamara's good. Derek Carr has been good, but he completed 11 passes. Like, too, because it's also like, he's getting it done. And if they're scoring on the first or second play of a drive, I guess he doesn't need to throw it a lot more, right? But, yeah, like Shaheed is good. Kamara obviously had 3 touchdowns. And this is just the second week in a row, the first 2 weeks of the season, scoring over 40 points. And then going into Dallas, who, coming off of a week 1 win, was, Dak Prescott just became the highest paid player in NFL history. There's a lot of hope and optimism around that Cowboys team, especially after that week 1 win. And just went in there and shut down Jerry World, shut down Mike McCarthy, shut down Dak, shut down everyone. CeeDee had a good game, but it's CeeDee Lamb. He's going to do that. But there's just I can't explain this Saints, how good they are. And Clint Kubiak, all credit where credit's due, he's cooking something, man. He's cooking. He's doing something incredible. and I'm excited to see where this Saints team, can go. I think there has to be, a moment where they come down to earth a little bit. I don't know what their schedule looks like. The Cowboys are always on fraud watch in my eyes,
Yeah.
so that might have something to do with it. I'm interested to see the Saints team against like a powerhouse team, and I want to see how they hold up. But shout out to the Saints. I know New Orleans is probably popping off right now. They're having the best time.
Yeah, and I know you're not a Bill Simmons guy, but I am. And
Mm.
preseason, one of his season-long takes that he took, that he got boosted for FanDuel, not an ad, but that's what he has. Because he's
Hmm.
partnered with them, he gets to boost shit just randomly, like parlays and whatever.
Yeah,
He took the under for NFC South wins overall, and I think it was at 21 or something like that. I can't remember what it was. It was a very low number, and he's like, I'm
yeah,
just counting on like the Bucks or the Falcons, one of those teams to win 10 games, and everybody else just doesn't win any games. Like I don't believe in any of them. The Bucks are 2-0.
yeah.
The Falcons are 1-1. We'll get to them, but the Saints are 2-0. Like if the Saints and Bucks just both win 10 games, the Falcons
He's
have to win
fucked.
2 games for that bet not to hit, and it's the funniest
Yeah,
thing ever that he hasn't even mentioned it on his podcast since then. Yeah,
yeah.
that it's just hilarious that
It's
we were
hilarious.
all down on the NFC South, but it turns out, I guess they're all good. I don't know, except for the
Yeah,
Panthers.
we were calling them the absolute worst division in football, a poverty division. We were like, the Falcons are gonna suck. The Bucks are gonna be, or we thought the Falcons were gonna be good. The Bucks were gonna be solid, and obviously this. We thought the Saints were gonna be awful. We thought Spencer Rattler was gonna start sometime this
Yeah,
year, and obviously we were all right about the Panthers. They're one of the worst teams I've ever
yes,
seen take an NFL field.
100%.
But yeah, I mean, I really can't believe what's going on in New Orleans. It's probably my favorite storyline this season so far. They're just so
Yeah,
fun. They're fun to
good for them.
watch. They're exciting. It's exciting football. And also, anytime someone beats the Cowboys,
You're
I
in.
don't mind
Yeah.
that. So
We'll start flying through these. We've been going for a while. Giants Commanders
yeah,
is absolute stinker of a game, 18-21. Commanders take a win. The cool thing in that game was that Malik Neighbors and Jaden Daniels exchanged their jersey at the end of the game, and Jaden Daniels was talking about it. He's like, he just took home my like first ever NFL win jersey, and I took home his first ever 100-yard receiving jersey. Like it was really
yeah,
cool to be
that's
with the
really
boys
cool.
and
Hmm.
exchange jerseys that way. We don't need to spend any time on that game. It was so disgusting watching that.
Daniel Jones bounced back a little bit though. Not the worst game I've ever
No,
seen.
it was
So
just a disgusting
it
NFC
was.
East matchup.
Yeah, it was bad.
Don't worry, there's another one coming later this season. Um, Bucks at Lions, one of the marquee games that we were hyped up for. Bucks take it home 20-16. Jared Goff didn't look too great. He wasn't horrible, but he wasn't great. And then I don't know what it was with the Lions that game. They just didn't. Something was off the whole game. The Bucks, that's how they're going to win games. Is they're going to slog it out and they're just going to get the points right at the right time. Baker Mayfield's taking legs, taking ankles on
Yep.
scrambles. Like Baker looked incredible. The Lions looked okay. I wouldn't say they looked
Yeah.
good necessarily, but they had a big
Yeah.
week 1
I,
matchup and didn't bounce back in week 2.
No, I love the Bucks. I love the Baker Bucks. They're a top 3 team that I'm rooting for in the league this year. And I was watching this game closely, and it was a barn burner to the end. The Lions are going to be
Yeah.
fine. They're going to be just fine. They were just a little off. It's week 2. It's going to happen. But shout out to the Buccaneers. They're a force to be reckoned with in the NFC.
Yeah, it was a good game. Colts at Packers. Packers were plus 3-point underdog, I think, is what it was.
Yeah.
They no Jordan Love. They got to start Malik Willis, who we didn't even know could throw a football or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Colts stink. The Packers are still pretty good. Doesn't matter. They don't have a quarterback. I know they played a bad team, but they slugged it out. They ran everyone knew they were just going to run the ball the whole fucking time, and they couldn't stop Josh Jacobs. Like the first drive, he had 50-something yards on the first drive. Like, it's kind of what it was.
Yeah.
Packers were a better football team than the Colts. But Malik Willis, post-game, he was getting yelled at by LaFleur after a play, and he's like, "Why didn't you throw the fucking ball?" And he was like, he threw up on the ball. The center literally threw up on top of the ball right
Yeah.
before snapping it, which was all-time football guy moment, just throwing up and snapping
It
the ball
was.
and then blocking.
And I can't blame Malik too
No.
much. I would probably not want to throw that ball
Just
either.
throw up
So
all over your hands. It's great.
yeah, it's filthy.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Packers take that one home. One of the surprises of the week, second surprise of the week. as we all know, preseason, I was like the highest person ever on the Rams. I am now denouncing my Super Bowl pick, and I don't have any faith in the Rams anymore. Everyone's hurt.
Yeah.
They don't look good at all. The Rams played at Arizona against the Cardinals and Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray just did Kyler Murray things. He came back healthy, and all of a sudden he's one of the better he's like a top 10 quarterback immediately. He's going to be a great fantasy quarterback because he scores touchdowns and he runs. Like, that's what he does. They went 41-10. It wasn't even a contest.
Not even close. I don't know how you beat a Sean McVay team that bad.
No.
I didn't know he was capable of losing that badly. Yeah, but they just look terrible. I mean, like you mentioned, Cooper's hurt. Puka's been hurt. Stafford's old. Just nothing's really clicking. Not this game, at least. Last week they looked fine,
and they have no offensive line. They're on their second or third string offensive lineman, except for one guy, I think.
Hey, and that everyone was through one game. People were questioning Marvin Harrison Jr. and he heard that shit.
Yeah,
he heard that shit loud and clear. 4 receptions, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. He looked incredible. There was a couple. It should have been 3. Kyler barely missed him in the end zone again. Yeah. But Kyler also looked perfect passer rating. He looked really good.
Yeah, it turns out when you get
the Cardinals are
wide receiver that is able to play the X, Y, or Z position for wide receiver, and you just put him in the X position all game, he's not going to do as much. Turns out moving him around the field and putting him in different positions to catch, be in position to catch balls is a good idea. Turns out he can play the slot really well. His dad is Marvin Harrison, so I think he can
that makes
play
sense
wide receiver pretty well.
Steelers
at Broncos, another disgusting game. I don't even think I saw this on Red Zone. It was 13-6, so it didn't even show up on Red Zone channel. Didn't even have an inkling of wanting to turn this game on. Disgusting. I'm good.
I don't think there's a single highlight from this game. I think everything is. I think it was a disgusting, despicable game. Bo Nix is pretty rough so far. Can't lie. I mean, not and so is Caleb. To be honest, you know what I mean. So that's we're not. I think it's a rookie thing, but also Sean McVay and this offensive mastermind that we've been talking about for years. What is he? He's masterminding nothing. He put 6 points of offense, but the Steelers also don't look fucking good either with Justin Fields. So I don't know. And he's their starter, and Mike Tomlin announced today that he's the starter of the team, and Russ isn't ready. And if he is ready, they're still going to run with Justin until further notice. And but it's all bad. I think if Russell's healthy, you throw him in there because it's not looking good.
Yeah, what I have to say about the Steelers team is they look eerily similar to the 2016 Dolphins. Not that anyone paid attention to them, but I think they averaged 17 or 18 points per game as an offense, and they averaged 13 or 14 points per game on defense. They just won games by one score, 13-6, 17-13. Just disgusting games that weren't worth watching on either side of the ball. Because it's quick 3 and outs. It's not even it's good defense. It's just mistakes from the other team, and it's I mean, the Steelers have a good defense. They've got stars everywhere. So it's a little bit more pretty on defense, but the offense is just nowhere to be found. It's disgusting.
Yeah. I love Bo Nix's answer to the on the last play of the game, kind of a clutch drive, needed a touchdown badly could have won the game. He threw an interception, and a reporter asked him. They said, "What did you see on that last play?" And he said, "I threw it to the other team."
Yeah. No.
And I was like, all right, well, you know what? That is true. That's a good answer. That's a good answer.
Full on Bo Nix.
But the Steelers are 2-0 and for no good goddamn reason.
Yeah, no, we talked about it preseason in our season-long predictions. We were like, the Steelers are going to end up winning 9 or 10 games, and it's
what Tomlin does, but they're never going to be scary.
We're not winning the Super Bowl this year, but they'll be in the playoffs, and it's going to be a gross playoff game, but it's fine. Probably game of the week. There's a few game of the weeks here.
There was
Bengals
this game
at Chiefs. The Burrowhead storylines were going all week. Joe Burrow's coming back home. He owns this place. He wins every time. And then it was the fourth quarter rolled around, and I was like, maybe they're right. Maybe. Yeah. And then at the end of the game, if you didn't watch it, there was a pass on a long 3rd down and 10, I believe. Mahomes throws it downfield a little bit, 20, 25 yards down. Has a guy open, kind of overthrows him a little bit. The guy goes up to catch it. I think it was Rice. I can't remember who it was, but goes up to catch it, gets literally just hit from behind early, a full second before the ball gets there. And
Yeah.
Bengals fans, NFL fans were like, oh, of course the Chiefs get saved by the refs again. That was just blatant pass interference. If you want to make the ref comment about the Chiefs, it happens every time there's a really good team. The Patriots had it for years. The Colts had it for years with Peyton Manning. Like, those teams are usually better, so they usually get the benefit of the doubt on the calls. That's
Yeah.
what happens. However, that was just blatant pass interference. They get the ball downfield. They only need 15 or so more yards to kick a field goal, and they get it pretty easily. And kick a field goal as time expired 25-26. Chiefs take home another one from Burrow. I'm over the Bengals, and Jamar Chase is just screaming at refs. It was a disaster class for the Bengals.
Dude, I always think about our conversation. We've had this conversation, I believe, last year on Play Action Takes. We were kind of predicting who the new diva wide receiver was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And this is last year, so we've definitely had our Brandon Ayuk's. We've had different guys be divas. Jamar Chase though is doing something right now that I don't even want to call him a diva, because I think it's too flattering. He's being a dickhead.
Yeah, he's being an asshole.
Like he's being an asshole, and like I don't understand why. I mean, I get it. He wants to get paid. I understand that, right? And that's something that happens a lot. But he's sitting here on the Bengals, where they've had a lot of success while he's been there. He has Joe Burrow as his quarterback, who was his college quarterback, and apparently one of his good friends. I don't know if that's the case. They're yelling at each other on the field, and just the vibe in the locker room doesn't seem friendly. No one seems like they're having a good time there. And so, he came out before the games on Sunday that Jamar Chase has decided that he's not going to discuss a long-term deal with the Bengals this offseason. So I don't know if he's saying that he's not going to be there after his contract's
I think
up.
he said he's not
has another
discussing
2
it
years.
during the season. They'll revisit it later, I think.
But so it's just, there's a lot of shit going on. And then mind you, T. Higgins is being T. Higgins, and he's also in a similar situation where he's on a franchise tag and doesn't want to be there either. And Joe Burrow's sitting here like, I don't know what, I feel like his world's just spinning because he's playing bad week one, and then comes into Burrowhead Stadium and can't get a win. And I will say that pass interference call was horseshit. And I'm team Mahomes gets in every call.
He does.
And the Chiefs get every call. He does. And I think it's bull. I was watching that game, not even a Bengals fan, but rooting for them. And I was infuriated. Like it really upset me, because I hate when really good football games get decided by the referee. And that's my biggest issue. And you can't throw that flag. You just can't throw that flag there. And it pissed me off. And then Harrison Butker, Mr. 1940s husband, had to come out and win the damn game. So it pissed me off. I was really bummed watching the end of that game. But other than that, it was a great game. But the Chiefs are 2-0, and they're the best team in the league. So
yeah, it is what it is. Sunday Night Football. Your boys, if you haven't already and you're a Texans fan, go over to Off the Gridiron on Apollo HOU's YouTube. Hit that subscribe button while you're at it. Get all the football, all the basketball, all the baseball needs that you just want to crave content for Houston sports, NFL, NBA. Just go get it all there at Apollo HOU on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. But OTG, y'all did a show yesterday. You dissected the entire game. Sunday Night Football, another gross game. And before we get into the game, I want to say that I think we're entering a new era where we were playing Big 12 ball for a few years here. Everybody's throwing for 4,500 yards. Everyone's throwing for 40 touchdowns. Wide receivers are getting close to 2,000 yards, just repeatedly, on and on and on. Are we entering to where a point where defensive coordinators have just kind of figured out how to make it? There's still going to be those games, but it's not going to be every game. Like Tua was able to throw for like 300 yards like almost every game last year if he wanted to, and sometimes he didn't have to. This year, I don't see anyone that's going to just throw for 300 yards week in and week out anymore. If Mahomes can't do it, like it's disgusting, and we're watching disgusting football, and that's how I like it. I grew up in like early 2000s SEC football. Disgusting. It's the grossest football you'll watch, and it was the best. It was ground and pound, and we're playing defense, boys. It's Jim Harbaugh football. That's what we're getting now. I think you need running backs, and you need an offensive line, and you need a good defense. And Texans turned to have one of those. The Sunday Night Football, 19-13. You beat the Bears. You beat Caleb Williams on primetime. They wore the orange helmets and orange jerseys. As a fan of orange, it being basically my favorite color, I wear it.
Same. Me too.
And I hate those uniforms.
Yeah,
I don't know what
they're not. They're for being a majority orange. Like, and I'm with you. It is my favorite color. It just doesn't look right.
it's the
Something about
helmets.
it is just kind of
I,
icky.
I think if you
Yeah,
did the helmets with the blue jerseys, it works. If you do the orange jerseys with the blue helmets, it works.
yeah,
Doing both,
yeah.
it just threw me for a loop, and I couldn't figure. Same with the Bengals, all orange. I know you and Garrett were kind of. I know Garrett was big on them. I think you were big on them as
I
well.
like those. Yeah, I
But it
like
was
those.
something
But also,
about
I
it.
just like the Bengals
I
more.
couldn't figure it out.
Yeah,
I can't do it. But Texans win
yeah,
19-13. Your boy Lassiter got 2 picks, only one counted. First
yeah.
career NFL interception. That was pretty cool. The
Mhm.
Skywalk video that came out this morning of that interception was
Yeah,
incredible. Like the
yeah.
shirt ripping from Caleb Williams when he's getting out of the pocket and
Hmm.
scrambling. Oh yeah, it was perfect. But
Yeah, it was
yeah,
amazing.
welcome to the NFL, Caleb Williams. You cannot just scramble around and throw a 50-yard dot to anyone you want anymore. You're playing with grown men and not guys that are going to go on to be financial accountants.
Yeah, not on this Texans team, especially.
Yeah.
Not with Daniil Hunter and Mario Edwards and Foley Fadakasu and Will Anderson
Yeah.
Jr. and Henry To'oTo'o and Aziz Al-Shaair. You can't do that.
Yeah.
And I know, I mean, he got sacked 7 times. He got pressured. This is an insane
Mm-hmm.
stat. We covered all this in Off the Gridiron, so we won't stay on this too much. Go check it out. We went for like 40 minutes talking about it. But um, Caleb was pressured on 36 of 37 dropbacks.
Yeah.
That's not, yeah, every
I
time
saw it this
he
morning.
dropped back.
Yeah, I was
And
unbelievable.
it's terrible. I mean, it's great for the Texans, which I love, but I felt for him. I mean, I know he woke up the next morning and just was in the most pain he's probably ever felt. He felt like he was in 4 car crashes, and he just had no time. And even whenever he did have time, he still couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
Yeah.
And so, Caleb's going to have to get his feet under him. He's going to have to get used to the pace of the game a little bit. But the Texans also, look, this game shouldn't have been as close as it was, but the offense just wasn't clicking yet. The offense is still figuring it out. And I mentioned this one Off the Gridiron, but weeks 1 and 2 for the Texans last year were not great.
Yeah.
The offense didn't look good either until in the week 3, they clicked immediately in Jacksonville. And from the first play, it was a big like 70-yard bomb or 60-yard bomb to Tank Dell. So that it just I think it takes a little bit, and there's obviously a lot of new pieces in this offense when it comes to Diggs and Mixon and Akers and all these guys. So it's gonna, I think they're gonna figure it out. But when in the Texans are 2-0, and this team isn't even close to full force yet. So it's really scary. I looked at the power rankings this morning. Most power rankings have the Texans at 2 or 3 right now, which is a beautiful sight to see. And the Bears have a good team. They really do. If Caleb can figure it out, that defense is good. They got the weapons on offense. They're a solid team. I'm excited to see what the Bears do this year. But yeah, Texans won, and as they should. And it was a chippy game. There's a lot of fights. Aziz Al-Shaair threw a punch at Roshan Johnson, and he tweeted afterwards the next day. He was like, "Oh, it took everything in my power not to thrash that boy." And I was like, "Yeah, you should have done something about it in the moment, pussy." But anyway,
Yeah.
shout out
I'm
to
also just sitting here without a Texans hat that I own in my house. Got all these hats, and I do remember giving at least 2 Dolphins hats away to 2 people that may or may not be affiliated with Apollo HOU and Play Action Takes. I may need a Texans hat this year. I might just need one.
yeah.
So
You should definitely have one. I'll send you one in the
there we go.
mail. I'll find one in New York City but I think you might have a better chance of finding one down there in
Yeah, so
Dallas.
maybe you just need
But you
to
really do.
ping the
You need to
co-host.
put that battle red cap on. I think it's
I'm not a
time.
red guy, so
We will
a navy or a
we'll
white will
accept you
work.
with open arms.
Navy or white will work. I don't really wear red a lot, so
No red, huh?
yeah, I
All
don't know
right,
what
well,
it is.
whatever.
I wore it a lot in high school, and now I just don't wear it. You know?
We can get you the new blue H logo.
Yeah, that's a cool
The
logo.
one,
You give me the chain.
yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh well, the chain is all right. You're buying that.
I can't
not
afford
buying
that.
the chain.
The chain's sick. Last game of the week before we get out of here: Falcons at Eagles. And me and you, we're in the same wavelength here. Last year we were talking about Nick Sirianni. We're like, you think you fire him? Like maybe.
I would have definitely
Like
fired him.
probably.
Yeah.
You probably should. And now we're sitting here
Mm-hmm.
and they're 1-1. Like they won a good game in Brazil, but Brazil doesn't count. Like any international games,
No.
like if you win that, like good on you. It goes on your record. Like congratulations. Those games don't count for like things that we need to see. I have a bone to pick with a different coach from Philadelphia Eagles. Just a different coach. Defensive head. He's a defensive guy. He's an older Italian man that may have coached in Miami last year. Time's up, old man. Vic Fangio, buddy,
Yeah.
pal. Game's on the line, and you're playing prevent, cover 2, Tampa 2. Like, you're just playing zone in a 2-minute formation for the Falcons, where Kirk Cousins is not a bad quarterback. He is a good quarterback
No.
by all means of the measure. Like, he's top 30 in passing yards of all time in NFL history.
Yeah.
He's a good quarterback.
Yeah.
Don't give him a 2-minute formation and not play like man. Don't give him different looks. Like, you just played the same look. Play cover 6, cover 2, Tampa 2, prevent defense, and they just carved you up all the way down the field and just kicked a field goal. Like, that's all. All they needed was just space, and you gave it all of them.
Mooney. Like, it's not like they were using even Kyle Pitts or Drake London. Like, Vic Fangio was letting Darnell Mooney slice him up, and Kirk Cousins, who's old as hell, but you're right, he's good. And we back to Sirianni too, because I blame him for this as well
100%.
because he's the head coach. He's obviously going to get a lot of the blame. But the thing is, first off, all game you can't get much done. You can't get Saquon going. You can't get Jalen going. Devontae Smith is incredible. I loved watching Devontae Smith. And you just can't get anything going against a Falcons team who last week did not look good.
No.
And, comes in and just there's not much going on in the game, but also like there was a few moments in this game where I was like, Eagles got to run away with it on this drive. Like, this is the time. And I just kept waiting for it to happen, and it never did. And then I watched most of the game, and then halfway through the fourth quarter, I had to run out. So I'm watching on my phone, and I'm looking down, and I know this drive's about to happen. I know Kirk's about to come out and try to do a legacy drive, but I'm like, he can't move. His legs don't work anymore. It's probably not going to happen. Bomb to Darnell Mooney. Touchdown to Drake London. It just happened like that. And I was like, what? And I didn't realize this stuff with Vic Fangio playing just like prevent, not like maybe just not respecting Kirk, but also just being an old-timey old fuck and not knowing how the NFL works anymore. But it was just ridiculous to watch. And I mean, I'm really happy for the Falcons, to be honest. They, after week 1, their morale was probably low.
Yeah.
And then they come in and Kirk does that. It ended up being a really good game for him. It ended up being a good game for Bijan. He had 97 yards. He's only rushed over 90 yards in his career. I think this was the third or fourth time.
And he did that in like the third quarter. And he just didn't touch the ball again in the fourth quarter.
They couldn't stop the run at all. And so, shout out to the Falcons, the Eagles. I don't know. I think Sirianni holds you back. They really do.
Yeah, and I saw a stat this morning. Someone tweeted out, I think it was like a NFL on CBS Twitter account. They tweeted out Trevor Lawrence's stats from the last 7 games. He's 0-7. He's thrown for 1,800 yards, and he's got like 7 touchdowns, 8 picks. Like, his QBR is like 80. Like, it's not anything good. And they're 0-7. Someone quote tweeted and we're like, hey, let's just keep the record straight here, boys. Jalen Hurts, 2-5 in his last 7, so 2 more wins than Trevor Lawrence. But he's thrown for 500 less yards. He's thrown 2 more picks, 2 less touchdowns, and his QBR is 2 points less. Like,
yeah.
I don't know what happened to Jalen Hurts like last season. They went 0-5, 0-6 to end the season. Like, it wasn't.
Yeah,
pretty.
They fell apart last season.
And now they're 1-1. They beat the Packers in Brazil, like we said, doesn't count. It counts towards your record, but can't take anything from it, especially on a shitty field.
Yeah. And it's week 1 too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to take if we've learned anything from this week is that week 1 doesn't mean a whole lot.
No.
It just doesn't. It doesn't. You do not. If you get a win week 1, you don't know anything about your team, because we look at the Falcons who lose to the Steelers. And they come in here and beat Philly, who with all the everyone's been hyping them up off season. They got Saquon, they got the guys. Jalen's cold. Sirianni's gonna be fine. Jalen looks slow. Jalen had look. I mean, obviously he had a good rushing game. He rushed for 85 yards, had a touchdown. He ended up, but there was one of the first few plays of the game. They just tried to do a QB. Just he was just taking it outside the tackle, and it was just like an old man running it compared to what we used to see. And I'm like, too many tush pushes with him. He's just getting his ass beat, and he's been in the league now, a good amount of time. And I don't know. There's just the Eagles. The vibes are off over there. The vibes are
It's
off.
rough. It's rough. But Falcons take it home 22-21 in Philadelphia on Monday Night Football. That was another week of football, boys. It was week 2. A
Yep.
lot happened. A whole lot. Like, we didn't plan to be on this call for an hour and 10 minutes, but here we are.
Lots to talk
Football
about.
happened, boys. There was a lot of good games. There was a lot of upsets. A lot of crazy things happened this week. And you know what the best part is, Noah?
What's
We
that?
got 15 more weeks of just the regular season. We got so much more football to watch. So much more. So much.
I know. It's incredible. The early slate on Sunday was nothing but pure bliss and pure joy and just keeping up. I had the TV, I had 2 other screens, I had my laptop, I had my phone. I was, you scroll Twitter and it's just amazing. And it was so fun. And then all the upsets are, I love an upset, except for if it's my team.
For sure.
Obviously, but it was just really fun, and I can't believe we get to do this for 15 more weeks. We're doing this until February.
Yeah,
it's September.
We got 15 more weeks of the regular season, and then the playoffs start, and we'll have college football playoffs going on at the same time in December. It's going to be just football overload. Can't wait for it. But this has been Play Action Takes, Apollo Media's NFL podcast, brought to you by Big City Wings, Houston's Wing Joint, Apollo's Wing Joint. Go check them out today if you're in the Houston area, and go check out Prize Picks. Download the app Prize Picks. It's a daily fantasy app, and use code Apollo when you sign up and get up to $100 matched on your first deposit. Daily fantasy is awesome. Use Prize Picks. They're awesome. And you're awesome for viewing this, for listening to this. You're the best. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And we'll catch you back later this week for Week 3 preview on Play Action Takes.
Later.